I hadn't planned on seeing him again, let alone ending up stuck with him in an airport past midnight, with all flights grounded and nowhere to go. But there he was, Liam Carter, casually leaning against the gate counter, phone in hand, like we were still college kids pulling an all-nighter instead of two grown adults with places to be. We hadn't spoken in almost a year. Not since the summer he moved out without really saying goodbye. I spotted him just as the gate agent announced that our flight to Boston was officially canceled due to the storm system crawling across the East Coast. I froze mid-step, my carry-on handle clenched tight, debating if I should turn and pretend I didn't see him. But then his eyes met mine, and he smiled. God, that smile. The same one he used to give me from across our shared apartment living room, always like it meant more than it should have. Like a secret he never said out loud. Matt, he called, raising his brows like this was all a pleasant coincidence. Didn't know you were headed east. I walked over slowly. Didn't know you were still alive. He let out a soft laugh. Barely. I was in LA for work. Layover hell now, thanks to Delta and this biblical thunderstorm. Yeah, I said, glancing around at the chaos. People arguing with agents, children crying, the low hum of exhaustion everywhere. This sucks. You going home? He asked, tilting his head. I nodded. Visiting my sister. Was supposed to be a short weekend thing. Liam glanced at the screen above the gate. Yeah, well, unless you plan on sleeping under those flickering ceiling lights, your weekend just got longer. I gave a tight smile. Guess so. There was a beat of silence between us, comfortable, but not quite. He looked good. Better than he had any right to. Same sandy brown hair, same annoyingly perfect jawline, but his face was sharper now, less boyish. There was something heavier behind his eyes. Listen, he said after a second, rubbing the back of his neck. I just checked hotel listings nearby. Everything's getting booked fast. I found one, decent place, but there's only one room left. I blinked. Okay, it's got a king bed, no couch, but... He hesitated, then shrugged like it wasn't a big deal. I booked it. Figured you'd be stuck too. We can split it. Cheaper that way. Cheaper. Right. I didn't answer right away, just studied his face. He wasn't looking at me like this was just about money. He was looking at me the way he used to when we'd sit on our apartment balcony at 2 a.m., half drunk, legs brushing, silence stretched too long to be friendly. Sure, I said finally. Thanks. He smiled again, a little smaller this time. Cool. Uber's already on the way. The ride to the hotel was quiet. He sat beside me in the back seat, scrolling through his phone while I stared out the window at the wet asphalt and pulsing brake lights. The city looked ghostly in the rain. Glass towers smeared with fog, streets half flooded. When we pulled into the hotel lot, he paid without saying a word and led the way inside. The lobby was dimly lit, designed to feel expensive, but ending up just feeling cold. The receptionist barely glanced at us when Liam checked in. She handed him one key card. Still just the one bed? He asked her. She nodded. Hotel's at capacity. Liam looked over at me. That okay? I nodded, pretending it didn't matter. Yeah, fine. The room was on the 9th floor. Small, modern, with a king bed pressed up against the far wall, and one sad-looking chair in the corner. Rain tapped against the window, like fingers drumming. Liam dropped his bag near the door and kicked off his sneakers. I'll take the left side, he said, like this was some routine we were picking back up. I set my bag down slowly. You always liked the left side. He paused, half turning toward me. Yeah, I did. The silence stretched. I looked away first. I'll shower, I said, grabbing a fresh tea from my backpack. He just nodded, watching me go. The bathroom was clean, tiled, and smelled faintly of lemon and bleach. I stood under the hot water longer than I needed to, trying to shake the nerves crawling across my skin. Why was I even nervous? It was Liam. He was just a friend who used to sit too close, who once almost kissed me and then laughed it off like it was nothing. A friend who left. When I came back into the room, towels slung over my shoulders, he was sitting on the bed, shirtless, scrolling through something on his phone. I froze for a second. He glanced up. Shower's all yours. I nodded. Cool. He stood and walked past me, his arm brushing mine. That simple contact burned. By the time he came out, towel dried and in sweatpants, the lights were off, and I was lying on my side of the bed, pretending to scroll through my phone. I could feel the mattress shift as he got in beside me. It was silent except for the rain. Then I heard his voice, low and hesitant. Hey, Matt? I turned slightly, just enough to see the outline of his face in the glow from the window. Yeah? He was quiet for a second. Then, I never apologized. I blinked. For what? For just leaving the way I did. I stayed quiet. My throat was suddenly tight. I didn't know what I was doing, he said. Back then. He turned on his side, facing me now. I could feel his gaze on my face. I told myself it was just easier to go, that if I stayed, I'd say something I couldn't take back. My chest ached. And now? I asked, barely above a whisper. Liam swallowed hard. Now I kind of wish I had. For a long moment, neither of us said anything. The hum of the hotel's air conditioning filled the silence, broken only by the soft thud of rain against the window. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe, afraid that if I did, the moment would disappear, like it had all those years ago. Liam was still watching me. I could feel it in the way the bed creaked with his shift, the way his presence felt so close despite the wide space between us. I shouldn't be saying this, he murmured. Why not? He hesitated. Because I don't know what you want to hear, or if I'm just messing this up again. I rolled onto my back, staring at the dark ceiling. You think saying you regret leaving is messing it up? He let out a bitter laugh. Depends on what I'm admitting to. My chest tightened. My hand brushed the edge of the sheets, fidgeting with the seam. You always did that. Danced around it. Danced around what? You know what. The room went still. Then I heard him shift, felt the mattress tilt slightly as he moved closer. Not touching. Not yet, but nearer. Enough that I could smell the faint, clean scent of whatever soap he used. Something piney, warm. You were my best friend, he said, and I was scared shitless of ruining that. You did anyway, he exhaled sharply. Yeah, I did. I finally turned my head to look at him. He was propped up on one elbow now, his expression unreadable in the low light. But there was something raw in his eyes. Not quite regret. Not quite hope. Something that sat in the middle, fragile and exposed. I thought about that night a lot, he said quietly. The one on the balcony. You remember? Of course I do. You were drunk off your ass. So were you. He laughed under his breath. We talked about moving to New York, getting some shoebox apartment, working in whatever jobs we could find. You said we'd share a bed to save money. I said it like a joke, he said, voice dropping. But it wasn't. That silenced me. I wanted to say something, he added. That night, when we were leaning against the railing and you looked at me like... He stopped. I just couldn't. I stared at him. You almost kissed me. He nodded slowly. I know. I sat up, leaning against the headboard. My heart was thudding now, loud and disorganized. Why didn't you? He blinked at me. I didn't think you'd want me to. My throat tightened. Then you're a freaking idiot. There was a pause. And then, without another word, Liam sat up too, scooting closer. The sheets bunched between us, but I didn't care. His eyes searched mine. And for once, finally, he didn't hesitate. His hand came up slowly, like he was afraid I'd stop him. I didn't. His fingers brushed my jaw. It was tentative, like he needed permission even now. You sure? He asked, voice low, hoarse. Instead of answering, I leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't the kind of kiss that exploded like fireworks or made me forget where I was. It was just real. A little hesitant, a little shaky. His lips were warm and familiar in a way that made my whole body ache. When we pulled back, we both just stared at each other, breath shallow. He whispered, "I should have done that a long time ago." "Yeah," I said. "You should have." He gave a soft smile, one that didn't quite reach his eyes. I was scared. You were the only person I actually cared about, and I didn't want to lose that. You lost it anyway. I know. His voice broke slightly. But if there's even a chance I could fix it, I'll take it. The bed shifted as he sat back against the headboard next to me. We sat in silence for a while, our shoulders barely touching. I didn't move away. He didn't either. "Do you think we could have worked back then?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I think we could work now." He looked over at me. "I'm not saying this has to be anything," I continued. "Not yet, but I'm not pretending we don't have something between us anymore." He reached over and linked his fingers through mine, resting our joined hands on his thigh. "Okay," he said. "We don't have to pretend." Later, as we both laid back down, I could feel the warmth of his body just inches away. He hadn't let go of my hand. I was halfway between sleep and consciousness when I felt him shift closer, his fingers gently tightening around mine. "You're still on the left side?" I mumbled, half smiling. "Yeah," he whispered. "But this time, I don't plan on leaving." The morning crept in slowly. I woke to the soft hum of the air conditioning and a strange warmth pressed against my back. It took a second to register where I was. Hotel. Rain delay, one bed. Liam. His arm was draped across my waist. Not tightly. Just enough that I could feel his presence, steady and quiet. His breath brushed the back of my neck, slow and even. He was still asleep. I didn't move. Not yet. It was the kind of moment you don't want to disturb. One that felt so delicate, like if I breathed too deeply, it might shatter. And the truth was, I didn't know what I was supposed to feel. This was Liam. My almost everything. My never quite. The guy who used to walk shirtless into the kitchen in the mornings, stealing the last coffee pod, smirking like he owned the place. And maybe, in some way, he did. Back then, he had a kind of gravitational pull. Everyone noticed him. And I tried so hard not to. And now he was here. In a hotel bed, holding me like it was the most natural thing in the world. My heart thudded quietly in my chest. He stirred a moment later, his fingers twitching against my side. I felt his breath hitch behind me, and then, "You're awake," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep. "Yeah." He pulled his arm back slowly, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to keep touching me. I rolled over to face him. His hair was messy, sticking up in every direction. His eyes were soft, a little nervous. There was something unguarded about him in the morning light, like the walls he usually kept up hadn't had time to rise yet. "Hey," he said. "Hey." He gave a sheepish smile. "Did I overstep?" I shook my head. "No." He looked relieved, but there was still tension in his jaw. "Last night felt different. I didn't plan on saying any of that. Or kissing you." "I know. But I meant it," he added quickly. "Everything I said. I didn't want to leave the way I did. I didn't know how to be honest back then." I propped myself up on one elbow, watching him carefully. "And now? I'm still figuring it out," he admitted, "but I'm not running this time." I didn't say anything at first. I just studied his face, the nervous energy in his eyes, the way he kept chewing the inside of his cheek like he was waiting for a verdict. Then I reached out and let my fingers brush his. "I don't need perfect," I said. "Just honest." He nodded, his fingers sliding into mine again. Okay, we got up eventually, both of us moving a little slower than usual, Like the air between us was heavier now. Not bad heavy, just aware. The kind of awareness that comes after a line is finally crossed. We brushed our teeth side by side at the tiny hotel sink. He stole glances in the mirror. I caught them. And he didn't look away this time. We didn't talk much on the way down to the lobby, just grabbed lukewarm coffee and stale croissants from the breakfast bar and found a spot by the window. The storm had passed. The sun was trying to push through gray clouds, lighting the wet streets in a soft, muted glow. "They're resuming flights," he said, scanning his phone. "But everything's still backed up. We're probably not leaving until tonight." I nodded, sipping my coffee. "Guess we've got time to kill." He looked over at me, the corner of his mouth twitching upward. "You want to just walk? Talk?" I tilted my head. "Talk about what?" "About where we go from here." We wandered outside, down the block, past dull office buildings, and the occasional coffee shop just starting to open for the day. The city was still sleepy, still soggy from the rain. Our shoulders brushed as we walked. He didn't move away. I didn't either. "So," he said, eyes fixed ahead, "I've been thinking about moving back." I raised a brow. "Back where?" "To Boston. I've been in San Francisco for work the last year, but honestly, I'm over it. The job's fine, but it's not life. Not really." I looked at him carefully. "That has nothing to do with me, right?" His smile was small. "I mean, it has a little to do with you." I stopped walking. He turned to face me. "I'm not asking for anything crazy," he said quickly. "I'm not expecting us to jump into something or act like the last year didn't happen, but if there's even a chance we could try, really try, I want to be near you." My chest tightened. "I don't know what this is," I said, "or what it could be, but I haven't stopped thinking about you, even when I told myself I should." "Same." I hesitated. "If we do this, you have to actually show up this time." "I will." He stepped closer, and this time he didn't ask before he kissed me. It was gentle, not rushed, not trying to prove anything, just us. And for once, it didn't feel like almost. It felt real. By the time we got back to the hotel, it was past noon. The checkout deadline was approaching, and the front desk had already slipped a polite reminder under our door. I sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through my phone, pretending to check my flight status. But really, I was just buying time. Liam was across the room, tossing things into his bag. One shoe, a charger, the hoodie he'd worn the night before. Every few seconds, he'd glance over at me. Not in a suspicious way, just like he wanted to say something. Eventually, he did. "I don't want to leave this room." I looked up. "Why? The fake succulents? The amazing view of the parking lot?" He cracked a smile, but it faded quickly. "Because it feels like once we walk out that door, this goes back to being a maybe." I set my phone down. "It doesn't have to." He sat beside me on the bed, close but not quite touching. "I'm serious, Matt. I don't want this to be one of those what-if stories. I'm done with those. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I've done a lot of pretending in the last year. Pretending I was over you, pretending I was straight, pretending I was fine." I turned to him, surprised by the bluntness. "I'm not fine," he said. "I haven't been. Not since I left." I didn't know what to say to that. Not right away. So I just watched him. The way his shoulders curled slightly inward. The way his voice trembled just enough to let me know he wasn't performing. This wasn't a speech. This was the truth. "I missed you," I said softly, even when I told myself not to, even when I tried to hate you for disappearing. "I know," he whispered. "And I'm sorry." I reached out and took his hand. "And don't disappear again." We checked out 10 minutes late. Liam offered to pay the late fee, but the front desk guy just waved us off with a tired smile, clearly too overworked to care. We Ubered back to the airport in near silence, our hands occasionally brushing on the vinyl seat. The sun had come out, finally, casting streaks of gold across the city like the storm had never happened. Inside the terminal, we found a quiet spot by a window. Our new flight times were staggered. Mine was earlier by about 40 minutes. Enough time to sit there and feel the clock ticking. He drummed his fingers on the armrest. You ever think about how weird it is? What? How we keep finding our way back to each other, even when we're not trying. I leaned back in the chair, watching a plane taxi in the distance. It's not weird. It's us. He smiled. There was a pause. Then, I told my sister once, I said, that you were my biggest almost. He looked at me. Almost? Almost something. Almost everything. Liam's jaw flexed, his eyes going glassy for a second. I don't want to be your almost. Then don't be. My boarding group was called. I stood, slipping my backpack over one shoulder. You coming back to Boston soon? I asked. He nodded. In 2 weeks. I already talked to my boss. They're letting me transfer. I blinked. Wait, seriously? Yeah. He shrugged, like it wasn't a big deal. Got some time saved up. Figured I'd use it. I just stared at him. What? He asked, a little grin forming. You thought I was kidding? I thought you were just saying what I wanted to hear. He stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me. Not some bro hug. Not awkward. Not hesitant. It was full. Warm. Grounded. You're not the only one who's changed, he said into my ear. I swallowed the lump in my throat and hugged him back. On the plane, I kept thinking about his words. The way he'd held me like I was something real. Not a maybe. Not an almost. A few minutes after takeoff, I got a text. Liam, I'm not going anywhere this time. You still take your coffee with too much cream? I'm gonna learn how to make it right. For mornings. With you. I stared at the screen for a long second, my heart doing things it hadn't done in a long time. Then I typed back, me. I still hate mornings, but I'd wake up for that. 2 weeks later, he was at my door. No fanfare, no dramatic airport reunions or slow motion running into arms. Just a soft knock, the kind that said I'm here if you still want me to be. I opened the door and there he was, suitcase in hand, hoodie slung over his shoulder, hair slightly damp from the rain. You moved fast, I said, stepping aside to let him in. I didn't want to give you time to change your mind, I smirked, shutting the door behind him. And you think showing up drenched and late makes a strong case? He dropped his bag, wiped his shoes on the mat. I brought donuts. That made me pause. Glazed? I asked. Double chocolate, too. All right, I said. You can stay. The first few days were weird. Not in a bad way, just strange. We hadn't lived together in over a year, and back then, we'd been two guys skating the edge of something unspoken. Now it was spoken. Now it was real. There were small adjustments. He liked his socks folded a certain way. I hated the sound of toothpaste caps left half open. He made the bed in the morning, which I found both unsettling and impressive. We eased into it like slipping into a warm bath, slowly, cautiously, with the occasional ow too hot moment. But mostly, it worked. Our routines bled into each other. Mornings were coffee and quiet eye contact across the kitchen. Evenings were dinner, low music, his shoulder nudging mine on the couch as we half-watched shows we'd already seen. We didn't rush anything. We didn't put labels on it. But when he leaned over one night and kissed me mid-episode, I didn't question it. I just kissed him back. It wasn't perfect. One night, I came home late from work, tired and irritable, and found dishes in the sink. He'd forgotten. It was stupid. But I snapped. Sharp words, loud tone, an old habit from when I used to live alone. He didn't argue. He just stood there, quiet, then said, "You done?" I blinked. What? Are you done being pissed? Or do you want to talk about what actually set you off? I froze. And then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because he knew. He saw me, even the parts one didn't want to show. I apologized. He didn't rub it in. He just pulled me into a hug and said, "We'll figure it out." And that was the thing about Liam. For all the ways he'd been a coward before, he was showing up now. Every day. Quietly. Consistently. Like he'd made a decision and wasn't going to back down from it. 3 weeks in, he made breakfast. "I'm thinking of calling it home," he said, sliding a plate across the counter. "What is?" "This place. Your place." I blinked at him. "You mean our place?" He smiled, small, almost shy. "Yeah," he said, "that." It caught me off guard how much that meant. I reached across the counter, tangled my fingers in his. "You sure?" He nodded. "It's not about being ready. It's about not wanting to keep pretending I don't want to wake up next to you every day." Later that night, we lay in bed, the city humming faintly outside our window. "I used to think love was supposed to be loud," I said quietly. "Like fireworks, like constant sparks." He turned his head on the pillow, looking at me. "And now?" "Now I think it's this," I said. "The quiet. The showing up. The dishes and the coffee, and the not leaving." He smiled. Then he said the thing I didn't expect, the thing that felt like it cracked something open inside me. "I love you." My throat tightened. "I've loved you for a long time," he added, "even when I couldn't say it." I swallowed hard. "You don't have to rush it." "I'm not rushing," he said. "I'm finally catching up." I stared at him in the dark. His hand found mine under the covers. Warm, steady. And when I said it back, it wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, soft, solid. "I love you too." About a month after he moved in, I came home to find him on the floor of the living room, surrounded by opened boxes and framed photos. He was cross-legged, holding one in his lap, the one from college, the only picture we ever took, just the two of us. We were on the roof of our old place, beer bottles at our feet, his arm draped over my shoulders like it belonged there. I'd kept that photo tucked in a drawer for years. Too much to look at. Too much not to. He looked up when I walked in like a kid caught doing something intimate. "I found your stash," he said. "You went through my drawer? You told me to look for batteries. And you found my repressed feelings instead. Congrats." He smiled softly and held up the frame. "You kept this." I shrugged, dropping my bag near the couch. "You didn't." "I didn't have to. You were already burned into my memory." I sat beside him on the floor, knees brushing. "Don't get all poetic on me." He nudged me with his shoulder. "I'm being honest." We sat like that for a while, sorting through the rest. Old letters, random trinkets, even a ticket stub from the movie we saw the night he almost kissed me but chickened out at the last second. "Why did you wait so long to tell me?" I asked. He was quiet for a moment, then turned toward me. "Because I didn't think I deserved you," he said. "Not after the way I left." I let that sit, then I reached for his hand. "You were a coward," I said. "I know. But you're here now." His grip tightened around mine. "Yeah, I'm here." 2 weeks later, I met his mom. It wasn't planned. She was in town for a work conference and texted him last minute. He panicked, tried to act cool about it, but I could tell he was unraveling the second she suggested dinner. "I haven't told her," he said, pacing our kitchen like it was on fire. "Not really. I mean, I think she suspects, but we've never actually talked about it." I sipped my water. "Do you want to tell her?" He stopped pacing. "I don't know." I stood, walked over, and gently took his hands. "Whatever you want to say, or not say, I've got you." He looked at me, eyes wide and vulnerable. "What if she reacts badly? Then we deal with it, together." He nodded slowly like he was bracing himself. That night at dinner, she gave me a once-over the moment we were introduced. Not cold, just curious, like she was studying a puzzle piece to see if it fit. Over pasta and wine, Liam kept glancing at me like he was trying to find the right moment. Eventually, he just said it. "Mom," he began, voice steady, "Matt's not just a roommate, he's my boyfriend." The word hung in the air like a suspended breath. His mom blinked, then she smiled. "I figured," she said, sipping her wine. "You look at him the way your father used to look at me." Liam stared. "I'm your mother." she said gently. I know things before you do. He laughed, shaky, relieved, and I reached under the table to squeeze his knee. That night, back in our apartment, he curled into me on the couch, head on my chest. I didn't know how much I needed that, he murmured. You did good, I whispered. He didn't answer, just let his fingers trace slow circles on my arm. That was Liam now. Less about grand gestures, more about quiet presence. Less performance, more truth. We stayed like that until the TV dimmed to black and the city noise faded outside. I tilted my head down, pressing a kiss to the top of his hair. I'm proud of you, I said. He didn't answer right away. But then I heard his voice, soft and certain. I'm proud of us. The following weekend, we went for a walk along the waterfront. It was one of those rare Boston mornings, crisp, clear, the kind that made you want to throw your jacket off and breathe in everything at once. The harbor reflected sunlight in shards of gold, and seagulls cried overhead. We didn't talk much at first. Just walked side by side, the space between us close enough to feel the warmth radiating off each other without touching. Then Liam stopped, pulled me gently to a halt on the boardwalk. Look, he said, pointing at the water. I used to come here a lot with my old roommates. Never felt right. Not like this. I followed his gaze, watching boats sway, the soft shimmer of waves catching the light. What do you mean? He turned to face me, hands in his pockets, expression serious but gentle. I mean, everything before you? All the pretending? It didn't matter. It was just noise. You're the first thing that's ever felt real to me. My chest tightened. Words caught in my throat. I didn't need to say anything. He didn't need me to. Instead, I leaned in. Our foreheads touched. Our breaths mingled in the crisp morning air. I've waited a long time for this, I whispered. Me too, he said. Then, almost shyly, he brushed his lips against mine. Just a soft, slow kiss, grounding and certain. It was amazing. Not the fireworks kind. Those were for movies. This was real. Solid. The kind of kiss that felt like home. The weeks that followed were a rhythm. Morning coffees, late night walks, small arguments about laundry or what show to binge. Little moments. Brushing past each other in the kitchen, leaning together on the couch, sharing playlists. One night, I found him staring at the ceiling, deep in thought. What's up? I asked, lying beside him, hand tracing circles on his back. He sighed. Sometimes I can't believe we're really here, that I didn't screw this up again. You didn't, I said softly. We're here. That's all that matters. He shifted closer, resting his head against my chest. I love you, Matt. More than I thought I could love someone. I love you too, Liam, I whispered. More than I thought I'd ever let myself. And that night, we fell asleep holding each other, knowing the storm of our past was behind us. Not erased, not forgotten, just finally behind us. Months later, it still felt surreal. We'd survived everything. Distance, bad timing, fear, silence. And now, when he looked at me, I didn't see uncertainty. I saw trust, love, and quiet certainty. The airport, the storm, the hotel, all of it was a memory. A beginning disguised as chaos. And now, walking hand in hand down the same streets we'd walked alone years ago, I knew the difference between almost and real. Liam squeezed my hand. I'm never letting go this time, he said. I know, I replied, because this time we weren't running from anything. We were running toward everything together.